Discover the incredible heartwarming moment when a millionaire uncovers hidden twins, a life-changing reunion. Jack Matthews stood on the threshold of his childhood home, the modest farmhouse resembling a ghost of his past. Once filled with laughter and struggle, it now was hushed, shadows lingering as heavy as the heartache he felt from losing his father. He adjusted his collar, an expensive suit too formal for this worn-out place, while taking in the sight of the fields, still holding promises of crops yet to yield. It felt surreal, like stepping into a time capsule, and yet nothing could prepare him for the surprises waiting just beyond the creaking front door. Hours later, after clearing the cobwebs of memories, Jack learned about Lily and Rose, the twin sisters he never knew existed. His father had hinted at family secrets, but the reality struck him harder than a gust of winter winds. Two sisters, lost to him since birth, had been living in Maplewood all along, their lives intertwined with the town's spirit but largely untouched by his wealth. The first time they met, it was like a lightning bolt, an electric buzz in the air. Lily stood defiant, arms crossed over her chest, while Rose radiated a quieter strength beside her. They didn't say much, but their eyes spoke. Jack swallowed hard. He was ready to do the right thing, but how do you start building bridges with complete strangers? "I think we should talk," he said, the words falling flat. Underneath their silence, resentment bubbled like hot coals, waiting for fuel to ignite. "It's easy for you, isn't it?" Lily's voice trembled with frustration. "You've got everything you need, while we're just trying to get by." Jack felt the weight of her words, a punch to his gut, a reminder of why he fled this town after his father's passing. Why hadn't anyone told him? Before they could delve deeper, the phone buzzed in Jack's pocket. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Jack sighed, looking back at the twins. "I know I come from a different world, but I want to understand. Let me help." "You have a floral shop, right?" That sparked something in Rose. "We don't need your charity, Jack." She glared at him, her cheeks flushed, challenging every notion of success he dared to define. He wanted to argue, but instead, he felt something shift in his chest, a realization that he needed to earn their trust. The tension bubbled to the surface, and Jack knew he couldn't walk away untouched. That evening, as he watched the entire town rally together for a veterans charity event organized by Lily and Rose, Jack began to wish for something he never thought: he wanted a family. But just as clarity settled in, their differences exploded in a whirlwind of accusations and hurt feelings, casting shadows deeper than he envisioned. Could he find a way to heal broken bonds? How could he show them his heart? As wind rustled through the trees, Jack wrestled with a haunting thought: were they destined to be just the ghosts of what could have been? Something had to change, but how? The journey to reconnect felt as daunting as the struggles his family faced in the days of old. Jack stood at a crossroads, ready to find out what it takes to make things right. The next morning, Jack stood in front of the mirror, the weight of the previous day's revelation still pressing on his heart. He knew he had to approach Lily and Rose again, but this time, he had to do it differently. They needed more than just words, they needed actions that spoke louder than any apology ever could. As he drove through Maplewood, the small town felt alive with a warm breeze and lively chatter. Children laughed as they rode their bikes down the street, and neighbors greeted each other with familiar smiles. Jack's tension eased slightly as he arrived at the flower shop, a quaint little place filled with vibrant colors and fragrant blooms. Pushing the door open, the sweet smell enveloped him. Rose looked up from behind the counter, her expression shifting from surprise to wariness at the sight of him. Lily emerged from the back, just as wary but with a hint of curiosity. "Jack. What are you doing here? Lily's arms crossed defensively, but her eyes softened ever so slightly. I wanted to help, he said, each word heavy with intention. I've been thinking about what you said. I don't want to just throw money at you, I want to be a part of this. To learn what you both need. And why should we trust you? Rose's voice was calm but firm, the unspoken "you don't belong here" lingering in the air. Jack took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of determination rise within him. Because I don't want to be just your brother on paper. I want to actually be here, for real. Show me what you do, show me how you run this shop. I want to help, not in some distant way that feels like charity. I want to roll up my sleeves and be part of your lives. The sisters exchanged glances, wary but intrigued. Jack's heart raced. Maybe he could do this. Maybe he could build something from this rubble of hurt. Okay, if you really want to help, we have a delivery to make, Lily finally said, her voice softer. We have a standing order at the community center. If you can manage the van, we might let you tag along. Deal. Jack grinned, feeling the first shoots of hope push through the weight of uncertainty. The drive was filled with laughter and awkward silences, punctuated by the occasional joke from Lily when Jack fumbled with the van's controls. Rose remained quieter, observing, but Jack felt the tension melting away like ice under the sun. Arriving at the community center, they unloaded the flowers together, laughter and energy bubbling between them. Jack carefully arranged a bouquet while Lily instructed him. Rose stood nearby, her interest piqued despite her usual reserve. There was something liberating in doing something so innocent, something that felt right. Just as they finished arranging the last bouquet, Jack noticed a group of veterans arriving, each man and woman a symbol of courage and sacrifice. The atmosphere shifted as they entered, laughter turning into respectful nods, gratitude filling the air. Suddenly, one of the veterans, a stately man with a weathered face, greeted Jack with warmth. You must be Jack. Your father always spoke fondly of you. It's good to see you back here, son. Jack's heart skipped a beat. His father had cherished this man, had called him a friend. He felt a part of his past stirring, memories long buried awakening within him. The weight of connection, of belonging, enveloped him, but a pang of loss struck. His relationships with Lily and Rose hung perilously by a thread, still so fragile. With every breath, Jack realized that while he sought to build a bridge, he needed to learn the art of family one step at a time. The smiles, the laughter, and the moments they shared today were just the beginning, but could they be enough to heal old wounds? As Jack looked at the twins, he wondered, would they take a step closer or push him away again? With the blooming community around him, he dared to hope. What would be the next move that would change everything? Jack stood there, caught in the moment, feeling a mix of nostalgia and uncertainty swirling in his chest. The veteran's smile was a beam of warmth in an otherwise chilly reunion. Yeah, I remember visiting the shop with your dad, the man continued, his voice thick with emotion. He always wanted to teach you the ropes. You seemed such a bright boy. Jack swallowed hard, the compliment feeling like both a gift and a burden. He yearned to be that boy again, to bridge the gap with not just the veterans, but with Lily and Rose too. But would they see him as more than just a ghost of the past? Lily approached him, her expression softening as she watched the veteran interact with Jack. Looks like someone's glad to see you, she said lightly, her tone teasing yet layered with sincerity. Yeah, he was my dad's friend, Jack replied, glancing at the veteran with newfound respect. I didn't know he'd be here. Rose hovered nearby, her arms still crossed, but the corner of her mouth twitched. She was softening, he could tell, and he eagerly hoped he wasn't imagining things. He drew in a deep breath, deciding now was the moment to make his turn. Do you think we could all do something together? He asked the sisters, suddenly driven by the idea. Can we maybe arrange something for these veterans? Maybe a party or a thank you event? Something that brings the community together? Lily raised an eyebrow, but there was curiosity behind it. That could be complicated, she replied slowly, as if weighing him carefully on a scale. Jack leaned in, his voice earnest. I want to make it worthy an opportunity to show them we appreciate their sacrifices. We could use the flowers from the shop. Just think about it, a big celebration at the community center. No one does these things enough. Rose's eyebrows lifted now, and there was a flicker of interest in her eyes. You really want to do that? Absolutely, he affirmed, feeling a surge of passion. I want to do something real. We can build this together not just as a team at the shop, but as a family. The words hung between them, laden with emotion. For the first time since he arrived, Jack sensed a possibility, a crack in the wall between them that he could drive through. Lily glanced at Rose, and Jack didn't miss the almost imperceptible nod they exchanged. All right, she agreed, a smile breaking through her cautious demeanor. If you're going to help, we can plan this out together. As they began brainstorming ideas, time seemed to speed up, filling their space with animated chatter. Jack felt as if a new chapter was unfolding not just for him, but for the three of them. Each idea they tossed around sparked a little more joy in Lily and Rose, and as the conversation flowed, so did Jack's hope. They wrapped up their meeting as the sun hung low in the sky, painting the world in golden hues. Jack stepped outside, inhaling the crisp air filled with the sweet scent of flowers, a stark contrast to the weight that had settled in his heart just days ago. But just then, a message pinged on his phone. It was from the family lawyer, with words that sent a chill down his spine. We need to meet. There's something urgent regarding your father's will. And as the evening crowd began to gather at the community center, a different kind of urgency throbbed in Jack's veins. What truth awaited him that could change everything once again? Jack stared at his phone, the glow of the screen almost taunting him in the dim evening light. Urgent. Those words echoed in his mind, drowning out the laughter and chatter from the community center behind him. He hadn't thought about his father's will in years. The thought of any unresolved matters from the past stirred a storm of anxiety inside him. Taking a deep breath, he forced himself to step inside the bustling community center. The warmth washed over him, mingling with the fragrance of fresh-cut flowers and the sound of joyful conversations. He scanned the room, hoping for a distraction. Lily and Rose were arranging colorful blooms on tables, their laughter slicing through the air. With every joke and playful shove, Jack's heart ached with a longing to hold on to this moment, a moment where family felt possible again. Hey, Earth to Jack. Lily called, snapping her fingers as she grinned. You good over there? We're looking for a little more enthusiasm. Yeah, sorry. Just lost in thought, he replied, forcing a smile. Deep down, the commotion unsettled him. Everyone seemed ready to celebrate, while he felt the weight of the world pressing down on him. Rose approached him, her expression softening. Jack, are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. Her eyes searched his, concern shining through her playful exterior. Just, got a weird message, he mumbled, trying to brush it off. Ignoring the excuse, she took a step closer, her voice lowering. You know you can talk to us, right? We're in this together. Jack wanted to spill it all, to share the turmoil inside him. Instead, he nodded, grateful for her insistence but struggling with the rush of emotions. The idea of his father, the father who never told him about things like wills, secrets, or hidden family ties, felt too heavy to drop in the middle of such a cheerful atmosphere. Let us focus on what we're here for, he said, redirecting the conversation. Have we settled on what the veterans want for the event? Lily clapped her hands together, snapping back to the present. We were thinking simple at first, just some good food, music, maybe a slideshow of memories. Jack felt a spark of excitement. They could celebrate the past while bringing healing to the community. We should involve the veterans more directly, though. Let us ask them what they'd like. It should be their day. Great idea. Rose chimed in, her eyes lighting up. "We can get everyone to share stories, maybe even honor a few special ones." The discussion swept him away from his troubles, and soon plans were taking shape. They decided to set up a booth for veterans to share their experiences through recordings. Each story would find a place at the event, giving them a voice, a significant way to honor those who fought for their freedom. But as Jack got lost in planning, his phone buzzed again, more insistently this time. He glanced at the screen, and breath caught in his throat. The lawyer's name flashed ominously. "This can't wait," it read. Just as the weight of uncertainty returned, the rhythmic beat of anticipation pulsed through Jack's chest. He was balancing two worlds, the one made of flowers and camaraderie, and the shadowy one tied to his father's past. "Jack!" Lily shouted, breaking through his reverie. "Help us here. We need more hands." The urgency of her call pulled him back to reality, and he surveyed the brightly colored decoration surrounding him. It felt alive, vibrant. But buried truths waited, and Jack couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to shift again. He took a step toward the chaos, but a chill sank deeper in his gut. What awaited him at that meeting? What bombshells lingered in the shadows, ready to emerge and change everything he thought he knew? Jack's muscles tightened as he pushed through the crowd, the energy of the community center swirling around him. The laughter of children darting between tables mingled with the soulful tunes drifting from the corner where a local band practiced. But all he could feel was the weight of his phone in his pocket, a ticking time bomb that seemed to vibrate with each passing moment. "Jack, come on," Lily urged, pulling him back to her side. "You're going to help, remember?" He nodded mechanically, trying to shake off the sense of foreboding that had wrapped around him like a fog. "Right. Let us get to it," he said, mustering a smile as he joined her and Rose in arranging more flowers. As they worked, he couldn't help glancing at his phone. Each time it buzzed, his heart raced. He was stuck between a community event that felt increasingly fulfilling and the looming specter of unresolved family matters. He was losing track of the moment, worried about what awaited him. "Hey, focus, buddy." Rose's voice was playful, breaking through his haze. "You can't zone out on us now." Jack chuckled lightly, grateful for her ability to bring him back. "Yeah, sorry. Just got a lot on my mind." He wiped his brow, though the warmth of the room had little to do with it. After an hour of frantic flower arranging and lively chatter, the atmosphere began to shift. The excitement had taken root, but beneath it lay a buried tension that only he felt. Conversations around him drifted into stories of the past, and he found himself grappling with his own buried emotions, the silence surrounding his father, the shadows of their relationship. "What do you think the veterans would appreciate most?" Lily asked, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm as they wrapped up the arrangements. "Maybe we should write letters to them, something personal," Jack suggested, unexpectedly feeling bold. "They'll know we care more if we share a piece of ourselves." "That's brilliant," Rose exclaimed, her face lighting up. "We can set up a letter-writing booth." The idea took root, blooming into something tangible that offered Jack a moment of hope. They faced down their fears as a team, rallying together to create something beautiful from their shared values. The buzz of excitement and creativity was intoxicating, but Jack's mind flickered back to the lawyer's message. "This can't wait." It replayed in his mind like a broken record, dragging him back to a past he was desperate to leave behind. "Guys," he began hesitantly, "there's something I need to talk about." Before he could finish, the doors swung open, and a gust of fresh air rushed in. Jack's heart dropped as his gaze met that of an elderly man standing just beyond the threshold, an unfamiliar face but one that carried a weight that felt oddly significant. Jack's breath quickened. Something about the man stirred a distant memory, a flicker of recognition that danced just out of reach. "Excuse me," the man said, his voice steady yet tinged with something almost pleading. "I'm looking for Jack Malone. It's urgent." Breath caught in Jack's throat. The buzz of chatter faded as he approached the man, who had a seriousness about him that sent shivers down Jack's spine. "What is it?" Jack managed, his mind racing. "It's about your father," the man said, his voice low. "And there's something you need to know." Jack's insides twisted as his father's shadow loomed larger than ever. Unresolved matters were about to surge forth with the force of a tidal wave. "Right now?" Jack asked, his voice barely rising above a whisper, as if afraid to believe the words. "Yes," the man replied, gravely. "We need to talk." As the music faded and an eerie silence settled over the room, Jack felt the weight of two worlds collapsing into one. What would the man reveal? Would this moment change everything he thought he knew about his father? Jack's heart pounded in his chest as he locked eyes with the elderly man. Every sound around him faded into an indistinct murmur. It felt as if time had stretched, each second stretching painfully into eternity. The warmth of the community center, once so comforting, now felt suffocating, as Jack's world narrowed down to this singular moment. "Who are you?" Jack's voice quivered with a mix of fear and curiosity. He fought to keep steady as memories of his father flickered in his mind like faded photographs. "I'm Thomas Carver. Your father and we had a complicated relationship," the man said, his eyes reflecting a lifetime of stories. "I knew him well, better than most. And there's something important I need to say." "Why now?" Jack's brow furrowed as he searched the man's face, seeking a hint of truth. What could possibly be so urgent after all these years? Thomas took a deep breath, his shoulders sagging under years of unsaid words. "Because your father left me something he wanted you to have. But before I can give it to you, I need you to understand who he really was." As the words sank in, an overwhelming mix of emotions washed over Jack. Anger, confusion, and a flicker of hope battled within him. Could his father, the man who had always seemed so distant, have left anything of value behind? "Let's take this outside," Thomas suggested, gesturing toward the quieter area of the parking lot. Jack nodded, feeling the desperate need to get away from the eyes of the bustling crowd. He felt exposed, like a book whose pages were being turned too quickly. Once outside, the air was cool, refreshing against his skin. Yet the chill didn't help settle the storm brewing inside. "So, what exactly do you mean? What did he leave me?" Jack pressed, eager to dig deeper, but also terrified of what he might uncover. Thomas leaned against the weathered bricks of the building, his gaze serious. "He had regrets, Jack. He always did. But he wanted you to know the truth about his life. Everything he did wasn't as black and white as it seems. There are things you don't know. Things that might change the way you see him." Reluctantly, Jack swallowed hard. It felt too intimate, too tender to consider his father as anything but the man who had walked away from his family. "I don't know if I can handle this," Jack admitted, the weight of his father's legacy pressing down harder than ever. "I understand. But sometimes, we have to face the past to understand our future," Thomas replied, his voice softening. "Your father wanted you to have closure." He paused, as if the right words mattered more than anything else. "Jack, your father had another family. You have siblings." The word struck like a lightning bolt. Jack staggered back, gripping the edge of the wall for support. The thought of brothers or sisters he never knew, hidden away in a shadowy part of his father's life, ignited a flood of questions. "What do you mean? How many?" "I know it sounds unbelievable, but it's true," Thomas assured him. "And he wanted you to find them. They deserve a chance at a relationship. So do you." Jack's heart raced faster than it ever had in his life. Could he truly open this door? Could he confront the man his father had been? As anxiety coursed through him, he pondered if reaching out to these unknown siblings would be a journey toward healing or more heartbreak. "Will you help me?" He found himself asking, caught off guard by the request hanging on the edge of his lips. "I will. But we have to be ready for what we find, Thomas said, his gaze locking onto Jack's with purpose. This is just the beginning of a path that could lead to something beautiful or something painful. Are you prepared? Jack nodded slowly, a surge of determination flooding reluctantly to the surface. He faced the truth head-on, no matter where it led him. Just as he resolved to take this leap, the faint sounds of laughter and music filtered through the door behind him, reminding him of what he was turning away from. What stories lay in wait? Would he be able to accept the truth about his father, and perhaps even embrace a newfound family? The answers lay ahead, waiting in the shadows. Jack stood there, his mind racing. The chilly evening air seemed to hold its breath, mirroring his own pause. He felt caught between two worlds, the one he knew, with all its familiar disappointments, and one teetering on the edge of possibility. Thomas's voice cut through the turmoil, shaking Jack from his reverie. "Let us start with what I know," Thomas said, his eyes probing Jack's face as if trying to gauge his readiness. "Your father, he was more than just a man with a secret. He was a father. To them." "How can you be so sure?" Jack asked, the grit in his tone masking a growing curiosity. "How do you know he wasn't just a liar?" "Because I was there," Thomas replied evenly, his hands ringing together in a nervous ballet. "I saw him, struggling with this part of himself. Keeping it hidden away while trying to be a good man to you. It tormented him." Jack felt a surge of frustration. "Well, it doesn't excuse what he did." The anger bubbled over, memories of days spent wondering why his father had left still fresh in his mind. "He made his choices. And this is as much about you as it is about him," Thomas insisted, his voice steady. "Learning the truth about your father isn't meant to absolve him, but to free you. To allow you to choose who you want to be in light of who he was." Jack searched Thomas's expression for deceit but instead saw something genuine, a weary yet fervent belief. "What about my siblings? How do I even begin to find them?" Thomas took a step closer, his breath clouding in the cool air. "That's where I come in. I have a name, one of them. Margaret. She's the oldest, and I think she's still around this area." Margaret. Just hearing the name conjured 1,000 questions. What would she be like? Would she know everything about their father, or would she have been left in the dark, just like him? And the others? Jack asked, a hint of excitement creeping into his voice despite the fear clenching his throat. Thomas nodded slowly. "There are more. A younger brother, and another sister. They've all spent years guessing at their father's story just like you have, possibly wondering why he disappeared." Jack's mind swirled with images of a family that wasn't his, one he never asked for but now longed to explore. He clenched his fists, feeling the mix of anger and yearning bubbling just beneath the surface. Why didn't he try to reach out? Jack murmured, more to himself than Thomas. Claustrophobia from years of isolation crept over him, thick and cloying. "Fear," Thomas replied, his soft tone cutting through the haze. "He feared rejection, just like you might now. But that's why it's crucial we move forward. Take a leap of faith." Jack stood silently for a moment, the tumult within him slowly dissipating, replaced with a burning ember of hope. "If I meet them, if I actually do this, what will they think of me?" "Your story, Jack, is as much part of theirs as theirs is of yours," Thomas said, earnestness lighting up his features. "It's time to embrace it, not hide away out of fear." With a nod from Jack, Thomas reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, folded piece of paper. "This is the address I have for Margaret. We go tomorrow. Together. Tomorrow." The word echoed in Jack's mind, heavy with consequence and promise. Nightfall surrounded him, its comfort at odds with the looming uncertainty awaiting him. What if they weren't ready for him? What if he wasn't ready for them? But as doubt raged within, the possibility of connection lingered, a shimmering light against the darkness. "Okay," Jack finally breathed, the resolve forming with each heartbeat. Let us do it. As he walked away from the community center, the familiar sounds of laughter faded into a distant hum. Each step felt electrified, an exhilarating plunge into the unknown. What awaited him on the other side of this leap? Would he find a missing piece of himself, or would he uncover even more secrets that would shake him to his core? Everything hung precariously in the balance, waiting for its moment to be revealed. Jack woke up the next morning with a knot in his stomach. The sun leaked through his window, spilling golden light across the room, but it felt more like a spotlight on his fears. He stared at the ceiling, his heart racing at the thought of meeting Margaret. Would she welcome him? Or would she see him as a stranger? He sat up, running a hand through his hair. The household was still quiet, the world outside busy with morning commuters. He needed to gather himself. Today could change everything. After a quick shower, he pulled on his best shirt, a crisp, clean choice that felt more like armor than attire. He glanced in the mirror, focusing on his own reflection. "You can do this, Jack," he whispered, trying to drown out the doubts whispering in his mind. "You're doing this for you and for them." With a final look at his reflection, he grabbed his keys and stepped out into the world. The air was brisk, refreshing, just like his determination. As he drove toward the address Thomas had given him, doubt began creeping in again. What if they didn't want him? What if they blamed him for their father's failures? He pulled into the driveway of a modest home, surrounded by tall trees that seemed to guard it from the outside world. It was quaint, beckoning him closer. He parked the car and sat for a moment, heart thumping against his ribs. Taking a deep breath, he stepped out and walked toward the front door, each step seeming to echo his uncertainty. His hand trembled as he raised it to knock. Just as he was about to pull away, the door swung open, revealing a woman in her 30s, her wide eyes mirroring his own mix of surprise and apprehension. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice cautious yet warm. "Margaret?" It was more a question than a statement, but the name felt right on his tongue. "Yes, that's me." "And you are?" "Jack. I'm your brother." The words seemed to hang in the air, heavy and almost unreal. He could see the flicker of recognition cross her face and then a shadow of confusion. "My brother?" she repeated, disbelief creeping into her voice. "What do you mean?" Jack's heart raced. "I mean we share a father. I'm here to learn about him, about you, about us." Margaret stared at him, her expression an intricate tapestry of emotions: curiosity, anger, maybe even hope. "Us?" she echoed softly, stepping back slightly as if processing the storm of a revelation. After a moment of silence thick with unspoken words, she finally stepped aside, inviting him into the warmth of her home. Jack walked in slowly, feeling like an intruder in a life he had never known but now longed to be a part of. The interior was cozy, filled with trinkets and family photographs, each telling a story Jack felt he had missed. Margaret closed the door behind him, her gaze fixed on him. "You have to understand, this is a lot to take in. We never knew there were whispers about siblings, but we never found any proof." "I know," Jack replied, a bit of his own pain surfacing. "I only found out recently myself. I've spent my life wondering why he left, why he never reached out. Do you have any idea how much hurt we've carried?" Margaret's voice wavered, her eyes glistening. "And now you show up with this?" "I'm here to understand, to find some answers," Jack said gently, hoping to bridge the chasm between them. Margaret hesitated, the tension palpable. "There's so much we need to talk about. But first you should meet the others. They deserve to know, too." The gravity of her statement hit Jack like a wave. There were other siblings, waiting, possibly holding their own questions and resentment. A mix of excitement and fear tightened his chest. Would he be able to carry this burden of truth across the delicate threads of their family? He nodded, determination building again. "Yes, let us do it." With that, Margaret led him deeper into her home. Each step felt monumental, a journey into the unknown. What lay ahead? Would the bonds that had been severed for so long start to weave together again, or was this just the beginning of a deeper rift? As he followed her into the next room, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was coming, it would change everything he thought he knew about family, identity, and the man they all shared. Who else would he find waiting? And what truths would ripple through their lives as they began to piece together a shattered past? Jack stepped into the living room, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. The space was bright and filled with warmth from the sunlight streaming through the windows. It felt alive with laughter and love, a stark contrast to the uncertainty swirling inside him. On the walls hung pictures of laughing children, holiday celebrations, and quiet moments that seemed to echo the laughter of a family he wasn't part of yet. Margaret turned to him, drawing in a shaky breath. "This is where we usually gather," she said, faintly gesturing toward a couch scattered with colorful pillows, a gentle reminder of the life that pulsed within these walls. "They're just finishing breakfast. It'll be a lot." "Right," Jack said, feeling the weight of every word he hadn't even said, like rocks in a backpack he'd been unaware he was carrying. He had never imagined facing siblings, brothers or sisters he didn't even know existed. What would their reaction be? Would they embrace him, or would they see him as an interloper? Just as anxiety twisted in his gut, a burst of laughter erupted from the adjoining room. It was a cute sound, carefree and innocent. "Sounds like they're in good spirits," he managed, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "They're always like that in the mornings." Margaret smiled, her eyes softening. "But it's going to be different now, all of this." Her voice trailed off, and in that moment, Jack saw a flicker of her own uncertainty. "Let's just take it one step at a time," he encouraged her, hoping to reassure both her and himself. Margaret nodded and took a deep breath. She opened the door wider, stepping aside, and with a gentle push, urged Jack forward. As he entered, he was greeted by the sight of two younger kids, one boy and one girl, sitting at a small breakfast table, their cheeks smeared with what looked like syrup. They giggled, momentarily distracted by a cartoon playing in the background. Flashes of childhood innocence floated around him, and he felt a strange mix of longing and sadness. At the head of the table sat a man in his 30s, clearly the older sibling. His eyes met Jack's, and the room fell into an uneasy silence. The joy faded slightly as they all noticed him standing there, a stranger amidst their little world. "Who's this?" the man finally asked, his tone cautious but curious. This is Jack," Margaret introduced him, her voice wavering just a bit as she glanced at Jack, as if searching for the right words. "He's our brother." A moment of stillness hung in the air, thick with questions and an undercurrent of disbelief. The younger children looked up, confusion etched across their faces. The brother's expression shifted from surprise to something more guarded. "Brother?" he echoed, like he was testing the word. "Yeah, I know it sounds crazy," Jack started, feeling the heat rise in his cheeks. "Crazy? It's baffling." One of the kids piped up. "Where have you been?" "I've been well, not here." Jack laughed nervously, feeling vulnerable under the weight of their gazes. "Don't be rude, Tommy." "It's a lot for him, too," the older brother said, his demeanor softening slightly. "I'm Aaron, by the way." "Nice to meet you." Jack stepped forward, extending his hand, trying to break the ice. Aaron looked at it for just a moment before shaking it firmly. "This is a lot to take in," Aaron admitted, glancing at his siblings, who were watching with wide, curious eyes. We didn't know about you." "I didn't know about you either," Jack said, feeling a strange camaraderie in their shared confusion. Margaret cleared her throat, stepping closer to the table. "I thought it was important we all meet. There's so much to sort out, and I wanted you all to hear it from me." "From you and him, apparently," Aaron said, trying to lighten the mood. Jack couldn't help but smile at this small attempt to bridge the unfamiliarity. The younger boy stared at him, a puzzled look on his face. You don't look anything like us. Yeah, I get that a lot, Jack chuckled, half embarrassed, unsure how to approach this moment. Suddenly, the girl jumped up from her chair. Okay. I have a question. Do you have a favorite cereal? Or maybe a favorite color? Jack blinked, caught off guard. Cereal? I guess Frosted Flakes. Yay. You're almost one of us. She squealed, clapping her hands, her joy infectious. Feeling lighter, Jack relaxed a bit more. What had started as a tense confrontation was unraveling into tentative connections. Laughter returned to the table, and as they began to offer their favorite cereal brands, superhero movies, and which cartoon characters were the best, Jack felt the barriers slowly lowering. But as a new sense of belonging began to blossom, deep down he knew this was just the very beginning. The light banter couldn't erase the questions hovering in the background. What darkness lay in their shared past, waiting to be revealed? What truths could tear them all apart just as they were finding their way together? Jack's heart raced as he thought of the bond they might forge and the rifts that could also lay ahead. As chuckles bubbled around him, Jack leaned in, captivated by the whirlwind of questions and laughter. Okay, but what about you? He asked. What's your favorite superhero? Definitely Spider-Man. Tommy exclaimed, his cheeks still adorned with breakfast crumbs. He's brave and funny. And he can stick to walls. That's pretty cool, Jack smiled, feeling the genuine warmth of family in the room. Meanwhile, the little girl bounced on her chair, brimming with excitement. Did you know Spider-Man is actually Peter Parker? Jack interjected playfully, and Tommy shot him a surprised look. Whoa, you really are one of us. Aaron commented, leaning back with a relaxed grin. Jack's heart swelled as connections began to form. It felt safe here among the laughter and vibrant energy of childhood. Maybe they could really be brothers and sisters after all. Yet, just as the laughter crescendoed, the underlying tensions whispered like shadows at the edge of his mind. The weight of unspoken truths loomed like thunderclouds, threatening to dampen this fragile moment. Okay, but back to the real stuff, Aaron said, his tone turning serious but calm. We should talk about why you're here, Jack. This is a big change for all of us. Yeah, Tommy added, suddenly somber. What does brother mean for our family? Jack took a deep breath, mustering the strength to go deeper. I was just starting to find out about our dad. I never knew he had a family. It's been a lot to process. Same for us, Margaret chimed in, her voice steady. We felt the echoes of secrets but had no answers. But now we do. Jack nodded slowly, sensing that this wasn't just an introduction, it was the first brick in a wall they could potentially rebuild together. I found out from a family friend that he wanted me to know the truth. About you, about everything. What truth? Aaron's voice was a mix of curiosity and guarded concern. Jack shared the bittersweet details, unraveling the heavy tapestry of their shared history. He spoke of regret, secrets, and the fractured legacy left behind. With each word, the room shifted, tension crawling back into the atmosphere. The younger siblings exchanged wide-eyed looks, and Jack's stomach twisted at the weight he was placing upon them. Did he ever regret what he did? Margaret whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I believe he did, but he couldn't find a way to reach out, Jack replied, feeling empathy rising for their father never knowing which man he'd been. He lost sight of who he was. As the air grew heavy with shared pain and realization, they all sat for a moment in the stillness. The bond blossomed delicately among them, and Jack knew they stood at a crossroad, a moment where betrayal could fester, but also where healing could begin. Let us not let his mistakes define us, Jack finally spoke, looking each of them in the eyes. We can choose to be a family. Just please give me a chance to be part of this. But it's not just on you, Aaron responded, nodding slowly. We've got our issues too. There's a lot we don't know either. We can figure this out, step by step, Jack offered, his heart racing with urgency. Let us start with the things we all like, the things we can do together. I want to learn more about your lives. I want to be there for you all. Tommy clapped his hands. You could help us with the science fair. Or help with the new video game, the girl chimed in, her eyes wide with possibility. Suddenly laughter broke through the mist of uncertainty, and Jack felt hope warm him. It wasn't just the joyous chatter of his younger siblings but the unmistakable shift towards something brighter. As discussions evolved around fun projects and shared experiences, Jack realized that they were weaving their own stories now. They were building a new family tapestry, each strand connecting to the other, growing stronger with the promise of what once felt impossible. Yet the lingering truths still danced around, teasing clarity but obscured by the ghosts of their father's past. As he glanced at each of them, from Margaret's fierce eyes to the way Aaron's jaw tested the balance between doubt and acceptance, Jack knew they still had a journey ahead, a journey that would take them deep into understanding. Whenever you're ready, Jack began, but was interrupted by laughter erupting over Tommy's attempt to impersonate a superhero. He couldn't help but chuckle alongside them, warmth filling him with every laugh shared. This reimagined family seemed possible, but excitement and fear danced hand in his mind. Tonight, he'd join them for dinner. Tomorrow? They could figure out together what it looked like to become more than strangers. In that moment, contradictions melted, hope, anxiety, uncertainty, everything merged into a singular path forward. They stood together ready for whatever the future held, just like the flowers they had once arranged, each stem interwoven beautifully, bringing life wherever they touched. As their laughter rang out, Jack felt lighter, a sense of clarity settling in. Whatever came next, he was ready to face it, side by side with shoulders unburdened. But when his phone buzzed again, a reminder from the family lawyer about dealings unresolved, Jack's heart dropped back into uncertainty. They had a foundation, but the past wouldn't stay buried for long. Yet he couldn't back away. They had come too far, and every door opened brightly seemed to whisper of potential. As new connections were forged amid the backdrop of their father's mistakes, they would also have a chance to find their own truth. And with that thought, Jack couldn't help but smile. Together, they would face the moments that lay ahead and reclaim the light from the shadows left by their father, his true legacy forged not in solitude, but in the embrace of brothers and sisters longing for family. Now that you've reached the end of this incredible story, don't just walk away. You need to subscribe now to our channel. Don't miss out on the next exclusive stories that will touch your heart. Leave a like now to help us feed the algorithm and keep these amazing tales alive. Comment below your thoughts, feelings, and reactions about this ending. We'd love to hear how it impacted you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation and experience the power of family. Only true fans understand how important it is to support the channel.